Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. I'll do it. One, you do it. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtota Siddha Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtota Siddha Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupada Hare Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamini Dinamane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 7. Tatra ahritaha taha nara deva kanyaha kujena drishtva harim arta bandhum uttaya sadyaha jagrihuhu praharsha vrida anuraga prahita avalokaihi. Let me pull this. Tatra hritastha naradeva kanyaha. Tatra hritastha naradeva kanyaha. Kujena drishtva harimarta bandhum. Kujena drishtva harimarta bandhum. Uttaya sadyo jagrihu praharsha. Utaya sadyo jagrihu paharsha. Vridanuraga prahita valokaihi. Vridanuraga prahita valokaihi. Tatra hritastha naradeva kanyaha. Kujena drishtva harimarta bandhum. Utaya sadyo jagrihu paharsha. Vridanuraga prahita valokaihi. Tatra hritastha naradeva kanyaha. Kujena drishtva harimarta bandhum. Utaya sadyo jagrihu paharsha. Vridanuraga prahita valokaihi. Please repeat. Utaya sadyo jagrihu paharsha. Mataris.
Sadyo Jagrahu Praharsha.
Okay. Tatra, inside the house of Narakasura. Ahritaha, kidnapped. Taha, all those. Naradeva Kanyaha, daughters of many kings. Kujena, by the demon. Drishtva, by seeing. Harim, the Lord. Artabandhum, the friend of the distressed. Uthaya, at once got up. Sadyaha, then and there. Jagrihuhu, accepted. Paharsha, joyfully. Vrida, shyness. Anuraga, attachment. Prahita avalokaihi, by eager glances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. Purport: Narakasura kidnapped many daughters of great kings and kept them imprisoned in his palace. But when he was killed by the Lord and the Lord entered the house of the demon, All the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives, because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of their being married, because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. According to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. Since these princesses had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers, it would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than the Lord himself. Om Jnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadama Hyam Dadati Svapadanti Kam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripasindubi Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivikasa Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tatagaro Tasyaite Katita Hirata Prakashante Mahatmanaha Bhagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmi Yasya Tivaksasi Yasya Ste Hriday Samvittam Nasimham Mahamajay Tatra Hritastha Naradeva Kanyaha Kujena Drishtva Harim Arta Bandhum Utaya Sadyo Jagrahu Praharsha Vridanuraga Prahita Valokaihi. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. So we are continuing on these pastimes out of Vrindavan of the Lord, and in the previous couple of classes, Krishna has gone up to this Mount Meru that this demon, Narakasura, has taken a hold of part of it, that territory, and he's created kind of a stronghold there and just a safe place for him to continue conducting his demoniac activities and unchecked. And so Indra came to Dwarka and asked Krishna, please come help. We can't get rid of this demon. He's taking over, and we can't defeat him. So it's a very powerful demon. Obviously, he's, even Indra can't defeat him. And we see so many times that, there's this pastime of Indra fighting Vritrasura, right? And he shows how powerful he is. He has this lightning bolt weapon, and so he's a very powerful, personality. So this must have been a very, very powerful demon. And this purport is more about the wives, but I just wanted to quickly kind of go over some things with this battle because it was really ecstatic. I was just reading over this a little bit, and I'm just going to read a little bit out of Krishna book. You don't have to pull it up because it's kind of like in the middle of it, but just the way that Krishna came in and defeated them is really amazing. So the two of them, it's talking about Krishna and Satyabhama, rode on them. Two of them rode on the back of Garuda, who flew them to Pragyotishpura, Bhamasura's capital city. To enter the city of Pragyotishpura was not a very easy task because it was very well fortified. First of all, there was 4 strongholds guarding the 4 directions of the city, which was well protected on all sides by formidable military strength. The next boundary was a water canal all around the city. In addition, the whole city was surrounded by electric wires. The next fortification was of anila, a gaseous substance. After this, there was a network of barbed wiring constructed by a demon of the name Mura. The city appeared well protected, even in terms of today's scientific advancements. So Krishna's coming and showing up, and there's this, crazy fortification, 4 layers, and it's really amazing because so it says he broke all the strongholds to pieces by the strokes of his club, and scattered the military strength here and there by the constant onslaught of his arrows. With his celebrated Sudarshan chakra, he counteracted the electrified boundary, annihilated the canals of water in the gaseous boundary, and cut to pieces the electrified network fabricated by the demon Mura. By the vibration of his conch shell, he broke the hearts of the great fighters and also broke the fighting machines that were there. Similarly, he broke the walls around the city with his invincible club. So he's coming out and he's using all of his weapons, his club, his bow, and his chakra, and his conch even is being used as a weapon to break the hearts of the enemy. So I thought that was really ecstatic. He's just pulling out all of his weapons, just like going, crazy. And the whole time he's riding on Garuda, and he has Satyabhama, his wife, with him. So it's really like amazing. That I couldn't think of any other pastime. I'm not sure if there's any other one where Krishna goes into battle with his wife next to him. And the reason that she came, I can explain a little bit later, but it's just really ecstatic. She's there watching the whole thing, and Krishna's not afraid at all, and she's not afraid at all of her getting hurt, because these powerful demons are attacking them, throwing all their weapons, and there's no danger of her, even though she's completely, helpless, in a sense. She couldn't defend herself necessarily as a woman, but Krishna's completely going to protect her, and they must be going very fast and maneuvering and all these things, and it's just really ecstatic. And then another point I wanted to make is that when Krishna kills these sons of Mora, let me see if I can pull this. So he kills this demon Mora that had like 5 heads or something like that. He kills him, and then the Mora's 7 sons, they all became very angry and tried to avenge their father. So they all attacked Krishna at the same time. And then, let's see. Krishna threw his weapons, and Bhaumasura's commander-in-chief, Pita, along with his assistants, which is all these 7 sons, fell down, their military dress cut off and their heads, legs, arms, and thighs severed. All of them were sent to the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. So I read that and I was like, wait, sent to the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. So, generally, when someone is sent to Yamaraj, that means they're going to hellish punishment. They're going to have to suffer, and Yamaraj will dole out their punishment and for their sinful activities. So I was curious about that because, Krishna's, when Krishna kills someone, they're supposed to become liberated. So I was like, oh, well, I hadn't heard of that before. And so I kind of looked it up. I couldn't find anything for a while. And then I looked at, Vishnu Chitta Prabhu has some versions of the Bhagavatam with different commentaries of different acharyas. So I looked in this one with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. And so this is 1059.14. You don't have to pull it up because it's not in Veda base, but in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur for this verse, so I'll just read the translation and the commentary. So, the Lord severed the heads, thighs, arms, legs, and armor of these opponents and sent them all to the abode of Yamaraj. So that's the point I'm making. It's in the commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Yamakshayam means that Krishna sent them all to the abode of Yamaraj, death. The real meaning is that Krishna gave them liberation, for Yama means the yoga process, starting with Yama and Niyama, and ending with liberation. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So he actually did give them liberation. It's just worded a bit, differently than we usually see. So, okay, covered that. Another point was that, I don't know if this got brought up in Jitagrisha's class, I can't remember if he said this, but that the reason Satyabhama came, well, there's twofold reasons, right? So Jitagrisha mentioned this, that the Parijata tree was there, and Satyabhama was jealous, you could say, and transcendentally jealous. She's, not a conditioned soul, but she was jealous when Rukmini got the Parijata flower from Narada, and she wanted it herself, and Krishna said, I'll give you the whole tree. So that was one of the reasons they went, because they were going to Indra's abode, and that's where the tree was. But the other reason is that this Narakasura is actually the son of Bhumi Devi, the earth. So, and Bhumi Devi is an expansion of Satyabhama. So Krishna had made a promise to Bhumi Devi that he wouldn't kill Narakasura without her permission. And so that's one of the other reasons she came, is it so she could be there to give permission for Krishna to kill this demon. Okay, so now we're kind of on this verse today. So, these princesses that have been kidnapped by Narakasura, they're stuck in the house, 16,100 of them, all stuck in this house of this demon. And when Krishna came in, he killed this demon and he came into the house. It says, they all at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. So this is, this kind of motif, you could say, of Krishna saving the distressed princess. It kind of comes again and again. Rukmini was there and about to get married, and she didn't want to be married to this person. She wanted to be married to Krishna. And so she was praying, please, Krishna, and she sent a messenger. And so it was this distressed princess, and Krishna came and saved her. Of course, there's the pastime of Lord Ramachandra and Sita Devi that, she's distressed. She's been kidnapped by Ravana. She's also living in the house of a demon. And it's a very similar situation as this, where in Vedic culture, if you were staying at someone's house other than your father and you're unmarried, then you become almost unmarriable at that point, because it's considered contaminated or unclean that this has happened. So Sita Devi was in a similar situation, and Lord Ramachandra came and saved her in that situation. So this motif keeps happening over and over again, that Krishna is saving these distressed princesses, that they have no hope other than Krishna. They have no possible hope. Nobody can come save them. I mean, like I was saying earlier, that even Indra couldn't defeat this demon. So it must have been so powerful. And so their only hope was that the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself comes and saves them, and not only saves them from the demon, but also becomes their husband, because, again, they couldn't be married to anyone else. So, you can imagine the distress that these poor princesses were feeling. They're in this house of this demon, and they're probably treated so horribly. The demon went around kidnapping various princesses from different kingdoms, and I also read that he was kidnapping them not only from the earthly realm, but also he was kidnapping daughters of demigods and daughters of demons from other planets, and just taking them all and putting them in his house like that. And this is a good representation of greed and lust, that we see it these days so much in society, that people accumulate so much, but they don't actually need all that. I mean, any normal person needs only one wife, and that's not only is that enough, but it can be, a lot to deal with, a lot to handle, just to take care of one wife and one, or one set of children, 5 children or whatever, 4, 5 children. But we see that this demon went around and took 16,000, women and tried to take them all for himself, for his own enjoyment. But there was no way that he would have been able to enjoy all of them, and he's only one person, and there's 16,100 of them. So there's just this overwhelming greed, this overwhelming desire to get more, this lust that it's never satisfied. Actually, it burns like fire, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, and the more that you try to satisfy it by getting the thing that you want, the more you're pouring fuel on that fire. And so, so he couldn't enjoy that. And all these 16,000, women were also unsatisfied because they didn't have a husband to take care of them. So it's just a bad situation overall. And you see, again, you see these billionaires that have so much money. They have so much money they couldn't spend it all in a lifetime, or even in 100 lifetimes. You can do calculations and see how much they would have to spend per day to spend all of their wealth in a lifetime. And it's way more than anybody could spend in one day. But for some reason, they keep doing it. They keep getting more and more and more. And they're never satisfied. They're never satiated. Now they have people with $200 billion, and 10 years they'll have people with $1 trillion, of personal wealth. And these people will never be satisfied. They'll never be content with what they have. So this is just a symptom of the conditioned soul, that they think that they can satisfy something, satisfy these, their desires by getting more of this thing that they're craving, but it never is enough, and they just end up completely miserable. I mean, you see, even these billionaires, like I'm saying, they can't hold a household together. They can't hold one wife together. They have so many divorces. Was it Jeff Bezos got divorced, Bill Gates got divorced, Elon Musk got divorced. So all these richest people, they can't even, all that money, they're still not able to, hold a marriage together like, people have done for so long before this, past 50, 100 years. So these princesses are in this very miserable situation, and like I was comparing it again to, Sita Devi was in a miserable situation, Draupadi was in a miserable situation, helpless situation, nobody's there to help them, and in this, low point, they are calling out to Krishna. They're calling out to, in Sita Devi's case, calling out to Lord Ram, and asking for protection, asking for shelter, asking for to be rescued in this situation. And this is something that we can all learn a lot from, because this is our situation, whether we realize it or not, that we are stuck in this material world. We're controlled by these modes of material nature. We're being controlled by our senses, dragged here and there, everywhere. We have so much lust in our heart, at least I do, and we're in a very helpless situation. But the thing is that we can get very content and apathetic, I guess you could say, to the whole situation, especially when you come into Krishna consciousness and some of your material miseries are kind of alleviated. You don't have so much suffering. It's not so much of a pendulum swing back and forth through misery and happiness and distress and all these things. You can get kind of content and say, well, okay, I'm doing good. Maya doesn't have me anymore. I'm not under the influence of that anymore. But we should be very careful. Srila Prabhupada did say that one problem with his disciples was that they're not afraid enough of Maya. So we're in this situation where we're under the captive of Maya, and just like these princesses are under the captive of this demon Narakasura, and our only way out of this situation is to completely surrender to Krishna, just like they did, just like all these other examples. There's Arjuna was lamenting as well, and then he surrendered to Krishna. Draupadi was, being disrobed, and she surrendered to Krishna. And in all these situations, Krishna came through and protected his devotee and saved them from these very bad situations, very undesirable situations that were full of misery. So we can learn a lot from that, and we can also be completely surrendered. Sarva dharman pratyaja mamekam sharanam vraja. We can give everything to Krishna, completely surrender unto Him, and He will carry what we lack also. Yoga kshema mahamyam. He will preserve what we have and carry what we lack. So, we don't have to do anything else. I mean, this is the summum bonum of all Vedic knowledge, is simply surrender unto Krishna. And we don't have to perform any, austerities. We don't have to do any fruitive rituals or sacrifices or anything like that. We don't have to go up and down, become demigods, come back to this earth, go through the cycle of birth and death all these times. We just simply surrender to Krishna, and He will carry what we lack. He'll take care of us completely. And as far as this whole thing of having 16,000 queens, again, so these princesses were in a situation where it was actually very miserable, because even if they could escape from this demon, nobody would want to marry them. And, of course, every woman should be married and have a husband and children and be a wife and a mother. And so they were, in a very miserable situation, because they couldn't fulfill their destiny, that they're supposed to become, mothers and wives. And so not only did Krishna, like I said, save them from this, you could say, imminent physical danger, imminent physical situation that they needed to get out of and return to a peaceful situation, but He also immediately agreed to marry all of them on the spot. And again, this is such an inconceivable thing. Like I said, most people can't take care of one wife and, a few children, or they at least struggle a lot to do so. But Krishna immediately just accepted all of them, 16,100 of them. And then He also had 10 sons and one daughter with each of them. So this is all a very inconceivable thing. But Prabhupada actually says in this Krishna book chapter, at the very end, I'll just read it again because it's kind of hard to find, but Prabhupada says, "There is nothing impossible for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is all-powerful, omnipresent, and imperishable. And as such, there is nothing wonderful in this pastime. All the palaces of the more than 16,000 queens of Krishna were filled with suitable gardens, furniture, and other paraphernalia, of which there is no parallel in this world." So this is really interesting to me, that there's nothing wonderful in this pastime. I mean, having 16,000 wives, saving 16,000 princesses from distress, marrying all of them, then having a palace for all of them, and then expanding yourself into 16,000 virgins, and so that you can personally be present in every single house. It's not that, Prabhupada also said, it's not that, I saw in a morning walk or something, he said, it's not that these wives had to wait 16,000 days and they get Krishna for one day and then they wait another 16,000. No, it's that Krishna's always there with them. And there's also this really amazing chapter in Krishna book where Narada Muni comes and sees this. He comes and he goes to every single house and sees Krishna performing all of these, duties of a householder perfectly, and encapsulating that and making that example for us. He's showing us exactly how to live as a householder, going through all the, waking up early and then performing worship and all these things. So by doing this, he showed us how to live, and he also displayed, his inconceivable potency of being able to expand in such a way 16,100 times, and every single wife was completely satisfied and able to be with him all the time. But again, like I said, Prabhupada said there's nothing wonderful about this. So again, I was kind of like, well, how is that? It seems pretty wonderful, like even in the, the movies that they make now, that they make it seem like such a magical situation, like the whatever, like the Disney movies growing up, you see like the princess is distressed and then the prince saves her, and it's all like a very magical thing, but that's one person saving one princess, right? And then, okay, he gets married and then, oh, it's so amazing. But Krishna did this with 16,000, and that seemed like a very wonderful thing, as when you're a materialist. Oh wow, like look, he saved the princess, whatever. But what is there's nothing wonderful about this, and I was just kind of contemplating on this, and one thing is that 16,100 is a lot, but also Krishna has expanded himself as a Paramatma in everyone's heart, and there's uncountable living entities. There's an inconceivable amount of living entities in every single universe, which there's also an unfathomable number of universes, infinite, basically. And Krishna has expanded in every single one of those living entities' hearts. And then on top of that, he's also expanded in every single atom and between every single atom. So like within just like the tip of my finger, Krishna is present in those atoms 16,000 times, or like, probably a billion times or something like that. I don't know how many atoms there are, but just so many times, so 16,100 is like, okay, it's nothing wonderful about it, but it is wonderful at the same time, of course, and it's very relishable. Krishna does so many inconceivable things. He carries the whole universe, all the universes on the hoods of Ananta Shesh, and they feel just like a mustard seed in weight. They're just completely negligible in weight. Varaha Dev comes and picks up the whole earth with his tusk. Krishna picks up Govardhan with his small finger. So he's lifting these amazing, such heavy things. He's expanding, into 16,000 forms and to have all these wives. So, these things are all wonderful, but the point is that when it comes to Krishna, it's not surprising because he can do anything. He's just, his potency are innumerable and infinite, and he does so many amazing things that it's like, okay, like, of course we do think it's wonderful, but Prabhupada made that point. I really like that there's nothing wonderful about it because it's just, that's just his normal thing that he does. And so, let's see. Right, so there's these 16,000 wives, and again, like I said, a karmi, or just, a conditioned living entity, is not able to generally reciprocate much with even, one partner, one spouse. What to speak of having 16,000, but he was able to completely satisfy all of these 16,000 wives. And, they looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness and offered to be his wives. And so when they did that, Krishna immediately accepted them because they were completely surrendered, they were completely helpless. And again, like I said, this is what attitude we should have, this ayinanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavambuddha kripaya tavapada pankajasta daduli saducham vichintaya. That's the one that like, consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet, right? Like, I pray that, accept me as a particle of dust at your lotus feet, my Lord. I've fallen into this horrible ocean of material existence. I also have the samsara davana lalita loka. that we're burning in this forest fire of material existence. We're in this blazing fire. So we're in this very, very helpless situation. And again, this is the kind of takeaway I got from this, that we should be in the same consciousness, the same helpless situation, that we should feel very helpless and very eager to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, because this is the only thing that will save us from this miserable condition. And we should be very cautious and very alert that, I'm not in Maya, I'm okay. I can definitely follow the 4 regulative principles, and, there's no problem with that. Maybe I'll chant 16 rounds, maybe not. It's like, if you have this kind of lackadaisical attitude and, my parents are devotees, so it's okay, like, you're in for a rocky road, because like I said, this material world is very eager to, Maya is eager to trick us, or to test our sincerity, at least you could say that, test our sincerity. So unless we're very sincere, unless we truly take shelter of Krishna and truly understand our miserable situation, understand the imperative urgency of this situation, that we have to quickly make progress and quickly become Krishna conscious and quickly purify ourselves and follow the regulative principles, strictly, and chant strictly, and always chant our 16 rounds, always read Prabhupada's books. Until we get into that situation, into that consciousness, we're always liable to fall off, and it's this razor's edge that we're on. It's a very sticky situation. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, that we see this theme so many times. There's Rukmini, Sita Devi, Draupadi, Queen Kunti is also praying that, give us these different miseries so that we can always remember you. So this is actually, something we can pray for too if we're on that platform, that, we want to be, in this helpless situation. Is actually favorable for Krishna consciousness to be kind of put into the miseries of just like suffering, and see the true suffering in the material world. Because again, if we become comfortable and we think this material world's not so bad, it's actually, we can make a happy life in this world. We can, kind of get along and get on in life, and it's not so bad. If we're in that situation, then we're in a very troublesome spot, because again, birth, death, old age, and disease is the cycle that we're stuck in. And unless we are completely pure of all material desires at the time of death, we have to take rebirth. And I don't know about you, but I'm still completely full of those material desires. So I am trying to endeavor sincerely in order to purify those and engage in this Krishna consciousness. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. This process is a scientific process that will cleanse the mirror of the heart and relieve us of all these material miseries, and ultimately help us get to the point where we're able to fully serve Krishna all the time, completely. That's another thing I was just been contemplating, is that these material bodies are quite miserable. They're full of so much misery, and they, we have to get a certain amount of sleep, and sometimes we feel moted out, and sometimes we get sick, and some devotees have been sick, and it's unfortunate, but it's really an impediment to our ability to do devotional service. These bodies are just always kind of falling apart, and then once you get to a certain age, it just gets worse and worse and worse. It's like a drop-off, where it just exponentially gets worse and worse and worse. So, it's much better to be in a situation, if you're able to go back to Godhead, you have a spiritual body, and that body doesn't degrade like this, and you're able to fully engage in Krishna's service 24 hours a day. You don't require sleep, and you don't require all these things that we have to go through, maintenance of the body, and you don't get into the situation where your body is not able to serve as enthusiastically as before. You're just able to go on and on and on with your service, and so that's a really favorable situation to be in. So we want to strive for that, and we want to strive to ultimately regain our constitutional position. Right, and so, another thing that I was just kind of contemplating on is that when Krishna does something, he does many different things all at one time. So like I was saying that Satyabhama came with Krishna, and there was multiple reasons for that, I explained. And, so he saved all these princesses. He killed this demon to, give Indra his territory back. And then he saved all these princesses and gave them a husband. So that's okay, there's like 3 reasons already. And then he brought Satyabhama in order to give her this parijata tree. So this one task of just going there and killing this demon, he accomplished so many different things, actually. And just like when he lifted Govardhan, he was chastising Indra or, checking Indra's pride by doing that. He was also giving the residents of Vrindavan the opportunity to look at him for a whole week straight and just not have to do anything else. That was what, I believe it said that the gopis were wanting to do that. They were wanting to look at Krishna, but they couldn't. But they had a chance to do it because of this, because everyone was just looking at Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, and it was completely acceptable. So he's doing so many things with his pastimes. He's annihilating the miscreants and protecting the devotees all at the same time. And so it's really amazing. You can kind of consider that in all of his different pastimes, how he's doing multiple different things at the same time. I didn't have so much other than that prepared for this, so I can take questions or comments now.
Just like an interesting point, that the women were, they're living with this demon, and then their husband, who they've taken to their husband, has died. So it's like Krishna's remarried them, but that doesn't mean a woman can remarry. So it's like an important point in Vedic culture. If your husband leaves his body, then that's it. The women put on white, and you no longer decorate yourself anymore. The only purpose of the woman decorating themselves is for the pleasure of the husband and nothing else. So, like Krishna married them, so then some people may say, see, you can remarry. What would you say?
So you're saying they were married to this demon?
Yeah, so they had to they were forced more or less to take this demon as their husband.
Right. Yeah,
So,
they were forced to. I guess it's kind of like Krishna kidnapping Rukmini. It was kind of like an acceptable thing to like kidnap someone and marry them, right? There's also,
no, in this case, if you steal someone else's wife,
so they were already married before?
They were stolen by this, so they left the house of so once a woman leaves her house and goes to another man's house, she's rejected, but she can't be married. But does it mention they were married to the demon particularly?
I don't think they were married. I'm just trying to,
Lakshmani Mata is saying, I thought they hadn't actually been married yet to the demon.
They were just left the house.
They'd just been kidnapped and stolen. It's like kind of like Ravana, right?
Yeah.
She was already married, those are things. Sita.
Yeah.
But like one example is like the gopis, like, they were all married, and Krishna like went in and enjoyed with them, so you could say, oh, like, are they like, but ultimately everyone belongs to Krishna as a thing. And like the other point I wanted to make too is this Prakriti and Purusha, like, like we are, in this helpless situation, just like these 16,000 women, because we're the Prakriti that's supposed to be enjoyed by Krishna, and Krishna's the Purusha, he's the enjoyer. And so, it's just another commonality between us two. But, it's like that, ultimately everyone belongs to Krishna. It's not that, I'm married to someone else and therefore, like, that's my husband and Krishna's not, like, right? Like, it's not actually the husband, because he's kind of putting that false idea of being the enjoyer, but he's actually also Prakriti. So he shouldn't think that is my wife and I can enjoy her, and it's like that.
It may also be the case sometimes. Main point I was also, I didn't catch that they weren't married, but also like if one is also into that, like Sita, she had to, even though she went to the house of another man, everybody was criticizing, and Ram had to reject her and tell her to go. Ultimately, later it kind of was revealed, but like generally a woman is not allowed to go to another man won't accept her. So it's like interesting how the point that I see the principle being made is that one should take immediate shelter of Krishna, even like that right after ultimately one should accept Krishna as his husband, like you're saying, you know, like Prakriti and Purusha.
Yeah.
So that point is being made. It's like that although they didn't have husbands, Krishna immediately, because they took shelter of him, he could become their husbands.
Right. He says it would have been difficult for them to have any other husband other than the Lord himself.
Practically impossible. And it's
Yeah,
like our
impossible.
case also, like we come into Krishna consciousness with, especially like for women, it's like, okay, like our backgrounds are not that good, you know, whether as men or
Right.
women.
Right.
And so it's like, it's actually when we take initiation, it's a new birth. So you're being given a whole new body basically. So now you cannot, if you break those principles, then it's like, now you can, you know, you've accepted a father, you know, you've accepted a whole new birth. And so now, you know, you should take shelter of that. And now you're, you know, we're well qualified to accept husbands, you could say like that. That now, you know, now you shouldn't mess up. Now you shouldn't go to another man's house that is not your husband. You shouldn't do all of these things. You should stick to the principles of devotional service. So it's nice. And then, you know, we've taken shelter of Krishna. So Krishna is giving us a good chance. And I was just looking at some things up. You're mentioning like divorce and things like that. 2021 statistics was 51% of women are, now it's higher? No, it's 51% are divorced. And I've been here, and I've heard in the past, because I like to look at these things, that those women in their early days, when they're not married, they look happy, they're happy. So between that age of 24, 25 to about 40, 45. But then once they pass that age, when they start hitting old age, they become really miserable
If they're not married, if they never get married.
if they don't get married. Because now the whole push is don't get married,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're an independent woman and you go on and succeed in your career. And actually, I don't even understand that, because, you know, it's like you see a woman's life and practically, you know, it's like, it's a question I had. It's like 4 days of the month they can't function. How the hell is a woman meant to work a job? Especially if you're working a labor job.
Oh.
You know, it's impossible. Now you say equality, and you put them out on the street and get them to dig these holes like the men do, get them to do all of these things. They can't do it. It's not equal. But the main point being that they don't get married, they don't have a shelter of a husband, their fathers leave the planet, their, you know, mothers leave the planet, and then they don't have children, so they don't have any love and affection in their life. Young men are not going to come after you. No man is going to want to marry you. So they don't have any conception of Krishna consciousness. So it's a puffed up womanly concept of life, as there's that lecture. It's like that women can be independent and go on their whole life being alright. It's actually really miserable. Even for a man who doesn't get married, it's actually quite miserable. Anybody, the principle is dharma. So, you know, you don't get married, then you're just like, you end up really miserable at the end of life, unless, you know, you're in devotional service and then you're performing service under your spiritual master. Even if you're in devotional service and you're not sticking to the varnashram system, if you're just not a brahmachari and not a grihastha and just in this middle ashram, you'll be miserable also. So it's like important to like understand these principles, how a man should, if he's not in a brahmachari or sannyasi or vanaprastha, should be married, or if a woman should also endeavor for that, not that you become independent. And especially women, they definitely have to get married.
Yeah.
And there's extreme cases, but
You see, like, just
exceptions.
like maybe 75 years ago, it's like everyone was married and they stayed married. Like my grandparents stayed married their whole life. They're still married.
Like at the age of 20, basically.
Yeah, no, like 18 married.
18, finish.
That's it. And then like, it's like your high school boyfriend or like, you know, high school sweet. Like it's like they had like one partner their whole life. They didn't like go like try like, you know, this guy and that guy. And then, you know, it's the same with both. You know, men are going to multiple different women. Women are going to multiple different men. And now, like, you know, the father is supposed to like protect the daughter till she gets to marriage, right? And then like, but now like the father sends the daughter to college where she'll just like have so much illicit sex, you know, just like basically like, it's like, okay, stay with all these different men. It's like, yeah, it's really bad. But yeah, I mean, it's very short time ago. Even though they were like complete sinful meat eaters, drunkards, all these things, at least, I mean, they were still like married, like, and they stayed married. Like somehow they had that principle. So it's like basic part of civilized society, right? Okay. Anything else? Yes, Namani Prabhu.
Like on the point you were saying that I remember I was in school and my teacher, she was saying how many of you guys want to sign a prenup agreement? And then like I think maybe like half the class that raised their hand, and she was like, "See, everybody needs to raise their hand." And I was like, "Wait," because you know what a prenup agreement? Yeah, so it was like,
Your money, you don't lose your
yeah,
money.
yeah. So in case you get a divorce, because she was like, "Oh, divorce rate is high, so you guys need to sign these prenups." And I'm just thinking like, why would you get married to somebody if you're gonna like sign a prenup? Because like you pretty much encouraging them like, okay, this probably gonna fall apart. I'm basing this off of money, so I'm gonna like protect my money. I'm just like, this is my teacher telling us this. It's really crazy. Anyways, and then comment and a question. A comment, you were talking about Victor Sewer and Indra in the beginning of the class. I remember reading the purport in that battle that when Indra dropped his bow, it said that Victor Sewer was encouraging him to fight, and Prabhupada said in that instance actually Victor Sewer became a devotee and Indra became a demon. And I thought it was interesting because at any moment a devotee can like be content. Like you were saying how like you could be a child of devotee and you might think you're like safe, but at any moment you could turn into a demon. Any moment. And
Yeah.
Prabhupada made that point in the purport. And my question is, so these 16,000 wives, do you know, are these goddesses of fortune or are they just regular jivas?
Yeah, I've heard that. I can't remember exactly where I saw that, if it was Krishna book writer, but it said that they're all goddesses of fortune, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I figured. So they're
Yeah.
actually like eternally in that position.
Right, yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's just all part of the pastime, but yeah. Yes, stop us.
I think Mahosa Prabhu said the other day, or Kalki Prabhu, he said that you can become one of them. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, one of the 16,000 wives or something like that.
What?
Not like
is it
become
Koki
one,
Prabhu
but
said?
like you can be like, oh, okay, not like become one, like not like Mayavad, but like you can like be one of those like 16,000 wives. Not like, you know what I mean? Actually, but come on, bro, you know what I mean? Like, so he.
You can't replace, but
That's what I've heard. I mean, maybe I'm like wrong.
You can't replace the position. There's 16,000.
Okay,
And you add yourself, that becomes 16,001.
okay, I'll ask Kalki Prabhu.
okay. Anything from the Matajis? Yes. Parth.
Hare Krishna. It is on. Hare Krishna. Okay. You were speaking about how Satya Bhoma, she was with Krishna when he was in battle, and I was just wondering about Rukmini Devi. Was she also with Krishna, like when Krishna kidnapped her, and then
In this pastime, you mean, or?
no, in the pastime of Rukmini and Krishna.
Oh, when he kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Was she with him? You saying? With
Yeah. Was that also a battle that she was with him? Because you were saying
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
yeah.
I guess. Well, because he. Yeah, he was there too. That's a good point. Yeah, but he ran away, right? And then like this, who's the one that came and like he cut his hair? Yeah, but that I thought it was not her. Oh yeah, it was her brother. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, Rukmi came and then was it a battle that happened at that point when he took? Because it says that he kind of just walked out like a lion, right, with her, and they just. He went and took her, and then he just kind of walked out. Like, yeah, he didn't like battle them, right? Or the battle was there. Okay. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's another time. Cool. All right. Anything else? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.